What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can...
Matt Rhule, our guy, says that the Big Ten should be so good this year that there should be 4 bids for the CFP from teams. So I'm thinking that he's going to be including himself in that conversation. But if I had to go through the names, to me, let's just say that we'll have, out of respect for him, we'll keep Nebraska in there. Ohio State for sure. We talked about Penn State. Can Michigan make it in, or will they take a step back? I'm going to take Michigan out of my category and still put Iowa there because I had them in my Big Ten championship. So that would be my 4 that would come out. Oh, wait. Hold up. No. I keep forgetting that Oregon is in this division or in this conference. Ah, man. I mean, he might be right though.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's right. I mean, if we go off of like my record predictions that I had here, I mean, the only teams who would really be in the running for it would be Ohio State, because I have them as undefeated conference champs. USC, I have them as only losing 1 game in the conference championship. Actually, no, sorry. They would be a 3-loss team, but because I have them losing to LSU and Notre Dame to open and close the season, but they would be 10-3, being a conference runner-up. I think that should still be enough to get you in. But then you still have Oregon. I have their only loss being Ohio State, and then Penn State only losing to USC and Ohio State. So you're still looking at probably 4 teams there. But I mean, even again, looking at this past year, even if you already have Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State in that 12-team playoff, and then you add in Oregon and Washington. I know Washington's not going to be there this next year, and maybe Michigan is, maybe they aren't. But I mean, Oregon and Ohio State, I'm pretty sure are going to be locks, and I would be shocked if there wasn't a 3rd or 4th team in there. I think it's very realistic. I mean, it's probably going to be the norm for the Big Ten and the SEC each to have 4 teams.
Yeah. If I had to, let's take Nebraska out of it. I'm going to say Ohio State and Oregon for sure.
Yeah.
We talked about Penn State. I think they squeak in there.
I agree. And then you have a plethora of teams you could choose for that 4th spot. I mean, you have Iowa, you have Michigan, you have USC. I mean, Nebraska. If you're feeling funky, I mean,
if Northwestern,
Wisconsin, Northwestern.
I'm not saying that they will, but like, if they're able to shock us last year,
yeah,
they might be able to shock us this year. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say I'm gonna keep my 2, Oregon and Iowa. That's who I had. Ohio State. I'm gonna throw Penn State in there. That's who my 4 are gonna be.
And I think that's far from crazy. I mean, I think that's probably safe chance of that happening. But I mean, when you look at especially the 4th spot for a conference like the Big Ten and the SEC, it really boils down to how does the ACC look and how does the Big 12 look beyond their top team, right? Are the ACC and Big 12 runner-ups, that good, or are they just kind of like your 3 or 4 loss team who got there because the conference as a whole beat up on each other? If that's the case, then you're probably only going to have 1 team from each of those conferences. If you have 2 really solid teams from both the Big 12 and the ACC, you're looking at maybe only 3 teams from the SEC and Big 10, and I don't think it's that crazy now with the additions to the Big 12 to think that they could have 2 teams in the playoffs. I mean, between Utah, Arizona, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Kansas, and then all the other teams who could be sleepers, you're looking at a lot of squads who could sneak their way into a 12-team playoff format. And that's not even mentioning the ACC, who has teams like, obviously Florida State and Clemson, but then NC State, who should be really solid, Miami, who might be able to make a push, and like even a team like SMU, who could be kind of like a sleeper, and then Virginia Tech. I mean, it's no gimme, but I do find it likely that they have 4 teams.
Facts. Yeah. I mean, if things work out schedule-wise for a lot of these teams, could there possibly be a 5th team that might squeak in there?
they'd have
let's
to have
we
things
gotta
go
have
their
1,
way.
2, 3, 4, 5, and then I mean it's possible. Let's see.
They would need the S. Not only would they need
Yeah.
the Big 12 and ACC to all beat up on each other, but then they would need a lot of help from the SEC. The problem is the SEC. I think of the SEC and Big 10, I think the SEC is probably more likely to have 5 teams in the playoffs because I mean, you're looking at you have
Georgia definitely gets in.
Georgia, you have Texas, you have Alabama, you have LSU, you have Ole Miss, right?
Missouri.
You have Oklahoma, Missouri, and Tennessee, who all could realistically at least compete for a playoff spot, especially given
I'm
their
have to look
schedules.
more at their schedules too. I think I'm ignorant with their schedules because we just got done doing the Big Ten not that long ago, so I've looked at those schedules pretty good. That's the reason why I have Iowa as my runner-up because they have a favorable schedule.
Yeah. I mean, I have 5 teams from the SEC only coming out of the season with only 2 losses or less. So, and then I have like 3 or 4 more who only have 3. So, if things could happen to where the SEC is like, we should have 5, dare I say, even 6 teams, which they shouldn't have 6. That would just be crazy. But yeah, they could take up 5 teams in this playoff, which is crazy to think about. But a lot of things outside of the SEC and Big Ten's control would have to happen because you're banking on the Big 12 and ACC being weak aside from one team. So
facts.
I don't think 4 is too crazy though for the Big 10, but 5, I think the SEC is a better chance.
Dana says watching T'Vondre Sweat drills, this could be sad. He does not look good day one. Coach having to show him proper 2-point stance. What did I say, Dana? What did I say about T'Vondre Sweat? Oh my God. I didn't like him as much. Did not like.
It'll be interesting to see how he does without Bo Davis coaching him. Cause I mean, that entire Texas defensive line developed because of Bo Davis. Now that he's gone, I mean, I'm interested to see how Sweat and Murphy do in the NFL. I feel like Murphy's just
Byron Murphy,
but
Byron Murphy's that guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I like T'Vondre, but like he was just a 3rd or 4th rounder to me. Like, I mean, to be outside of the issues, outside of his outside issues that happened before the draft, but like, and his floor was really low. Like, I don't think his ceiling was as high as the drop off of like how much his floor is, Like, but yeah, man, this is interesting that Matt Rhule would say this, and it's not far fetched. He's a smart guy, and I'm sure he's saying that with Nebraska being in the fold. That's who the damn wild card is, though.
Yeah,
they had the least turnover, and they had the least turnover of any team in college football. That's scary to think about.
I mean, you look at
is out of there.
You look at the teams that Matt Rhule has coached at the collegiate level, right? Like, forget about the NFL stuff. It's different. Within 3 years, he took 2 programs, Temple and Baylor, from 1 win to over 10. Mm-hmm. 1 win to 10 in 3 years, right? Like, now you give him a fan base as passionate and loyal as Nebraska. You give him, right, donors and facilities that are as supportive as, almost any place in the country. And you place him at a brand, a program with as much tradition as any in the country. I think that if this is, obviously there's higher expectations in this rebuild for Rhule, but if there's anyone who can do it, it's Rhule, because you give him all the stuff that I just said, and I don't think there's anything this guy can't accomplish. I mean,
I agree.
If there's a guy who can bring Nebraska back to national relevance and being, taking back their mantle as, they're still a blue blood, but actually acting like a blue blood, like playing like it on the field, I think Rhule's the guy. I mean, give him a year or two now. He had his first year, and he's just got to, he needs time to build up the roster, establish a culture, but he's shown he can do it. And Rhule's going to cook. I really like him. Obviously, didn't work out in the NFL, but they're two completely different games.
Yeah. You're right about that, though. Every time that his back has been against the wall with, rebuilding the team, teams have trusted him with Temple and Baylor. And it's just crazy to think that he left behind a good Baylor team and Dave Aranda just fumbled at the 1 yard line every single time. Which I think they'll be better this year. They're kind of like my surprise team that's going to come out of nowhere and win a couple of games. But I love Matt Rhule, man. I love everything he's doing. And if, as much as I didn't like the decisions that Dylan Raiola and his family were making, I can't. The way he looked in that spring game and the way how DJ Lagway looked and the way that Arch Manning looked in the spring games, man, and the way that they've been practicing and how much of good shape that him and DJ are in, just being freshmen. They look like they've been in school for about 3 years, like 3 years into their career. Yeah. Like they're stacked to the brim, like they're ready to go. He's not gonna put Matt Rhule's the type of dude that's just not gonna put you out there because your daddy works for the staff. So, and I can appreciate that about him. I can wholeheartedly say that with confidence that that's not how Matt Rhule rolls. And yeah, man, he's gonna have a good squad. I just don't know how to gauge them right now. I mean, from your perspective, without looking at their schedule, as somebody said to you, Nebraska won 9 games last year or this year. Like, let's say we're in 2025. Yeah. Nebraska won 9 games. Would you be like, as somebody in the future, Nebraska's going to win 9 games. Would you be like, man, you're crazy? Or, I could see that.
I mean, I think it's a little bit on the high end. I wouldn't say that's crazy, but I think it would be a little generous. But again, granted, not by much, because I'm kind of thinking in my head, like, anywhere in like the 6 to 8 range, I think is, for year one, with again, as good as he looks, right? You have a freshman quarterback, and you're still kind of like in the thick of things, right? You're trending upwards for sure. Like absolutely, you're a better team than you were last year. I wouldn't say it's crazy. No, like I would be like pleasantly surprised. I'll put it at that. Like, I don't think it's outlandish. I guess just in my mind, it's a little higher than I would have thought. But granted, like I said, like I'm kind of thinking in the 6 to 8 range. I mean, 9 is only one more than 8, right? It's like
facts.
It's not crazy. No.
Yeah. So shout out to Matt Rhule and what he's got going on. The dude is, I believe next year is really going to be Nebraska's year where they're going to be, in prominence, for sure. He's doing what Coach Prime wish he could do at Colorado. So yeah, their careers are the one. I mean, to be honest, him and Coach Prime are going to be the ones that are going to be compared the most because he's kind of already he made his shots at him last year and apologized for it or whatever. And
they played each other in week 2.
Yeah, they got all upset, but I think this year is going to be a total slaughter. Like, I think Nebraska is going to go in there and kick their ass this year. There's no way that a team that has not changed and Matt Rhule's evaluating his talent and has already had success does not go in an inexperienced coach like Coach Prime and doesn't kick his ass the second year around. Like, if somebody was to, again, come out of a time capsule and say Colorado wins that game this year, I'd be like, you're lying. Who are you?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case this year. I think Nebraska is going to win by at least 3 scores.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Dylan Raiola gets taken out 5 minutes before the 4th quarter is over.
Colorado's not winning that game.
No,
they're not.
I don't see how you can justify that. Doesn't matter if they had Shedeur Sanders or not. Now, if Shedeur was playing for Nebraska, it'd be even worse.
Yeah,
it'd be even worse. But that's just because we don't know what Dylan Raiola's got right now. We're just projecting what he's done in high school.
Yeah, but he's going to be a great player.
What's up, Bob? He said I miss Kirk Cousins. I know you do. You guys are going to miss him after the debacle that's going to happen with your Vikings this year. You guys are not going to like my if you haven't seen, you're not going to like my record prediction for you guys. Same thing with my Raiders brethren. They're not gonna like me. They're not gonna want me to come back on their shows after my record prediction for the Raiders.